56th Governor of the State of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Good-looking group, I'll tell you that. And you are fired up. You are fired up. You should be fired up. Let's acknowledge first, I wasn't going to say anything about him being late. I would never. We've been friends a lot of years. I love him. I support him. Tardiness, is okay. It's okay. You can learn to live with it. To Steve Ballone and to Laura Curran, I can't tell you what a joy it is for me to have them to work with them, and how lucky we all are to have them there together. They are extraordinary in their own right. They are really proven leaders. They work phenomenally well together, which has not always been the case. This is one Long Island. There's no Nassau, Suffolk. The line means nothing. They cooperate. And Steve's exactly right. It's hard to get things done in this society. Between the politics and the litigation and the rules and the regulations, these are can-do elected officials. We are doing more on Long Island. We are doing more on Long Island than we have ever done. We're rebuilding the Long Island Railroad. We're going to get growing food cleaned up. We're putting in more sewer systems than ever before. Bay Park. We have a new water cleanup plan, so we're really getting things done. Let's give them another round of applause. And to our Democratic leaders, Rich Schaefer and Jay Jacobs, let's give them a round of applause. Now, they are really, really great at what they do because they deliver. And let's be honest, just for a second. All those cameras, you have to be careful. You're a Democratic leader in Manhattan County. That's one thing. There are 7 Republicans in Manhattan County. Nassau, Suffolk, that is a challenge. And we have seen Nassau and Suffolk go both ways. It can make a mistake or it can vote the right way. We know that. And under both of these gentlemen, we have seen more democratic progress than we've seen at any other time in modern political history, and that goes to their credit. Let's give them a round of applause. And to Avalon Fenster, I don't know what to say. You are frightening. 16 years old. What happens when you turn like 20? 22? You're like reinvent the universe. Avalon Fenster, let's give her a round of applause. On this issue of guns, you see more leadership coming from our young people than you see from Washington, D.C. And that's exactly the truth. To all our union brothers and sisters who are here today, to the CWA, to all the public unions, private unions, IBEW, and let's give a shout out to Local 3. We stand with them. IBEW, they're going through a tough time, and we remember them, and I stand with them 100%. Now, it's all been said. Let me just try to say it one more time in a slightly different way. Steve's right. This is a much different election than we've ever gone through before, because it's not really an election. It is a transitional moment for this nation. And you are seeing two very clearly different paths laid out. And it is frightening. It's frightening. I was talking to a young lady the other day. She said, I don't even recognize my country anymore. Things happen on a daily basis, a weekly basis that were unimaginable. And they come and they go, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. One more shocking, one more bizarre, one more terrifying than the next. And they just come and they go. And you look around and you say, is this America? What happened to our country? What happened to our values? What happened to our belief? I call them extreme conservatives, and we've been taken over by extreme conservatives. A reporter said to me the other day, well, why do you keep saying extreme conservatives? I said, because they're conservative, and because they're extreme. You put those two words together, it's extreme conservative. She said, well, how is that just different than normal conservatives? I said, look, we've always had political differences in this state and in this country. It's what makes our system work. Since our founding fathers, we have political differences. But there's a reasonableness, and then you have your values and I have my values, and we don't try to impose it on the other. And that's the difference. Yeah, we have different political values. We have arguments. I had an argument with one of my daughters the other day. You brought up daughters, Steve. One of my daughters accused me of being socially conservative. Now, these are fighting words in my house. I have 3 daughters that were all dating ages. You tell me, what is wrong with asking for a full background check? Gets embarrassed when I ask to fingerprint them. Why would you have a problem with fingerprinting if you had nothing to hide? That's a good democratic value. That should be a law. Full background check on any boyfriend. I love it. I love it. Especially now that I'm older. I love it. I love it. But we've always had disagreements. But reasonableness, and we have our own values, but we live our lives by our values, and we don't seek to impose our values on other people. That's the difference with this administration. They believe what they believe. They believe they are right. There is no possibility that they are wrong. There is no reasonableness. There is no compromise, and it's not enough that this is how they're going to lead their life. This is how you have to lead your life. And that's what's frightening. Because that's not just anti-democratic, my friends. That's anti-American. That's anti-liberal. That's anti-freedom. They don't believe in a woman's right to choose. Okay, you have your religion and you have your beliefs. We in New York believe in a woman's right to choose. And we are going to do everything we can to protect a woman's right to choose, and we want to write it into the Constitution with a Roe v. Wade amendment. Their position is, we don't believe in a woman's right to choose. It violates our religious values, and we're going to go to the Supreme Court and appoint Supreme Court judges who represent our religious values and impose them on the public. That's why they're dangerous, and that's what I mean when an extreme conservative ideology is trying to take over this country. We believe women should be treated with full equality and decency and respect. We just went through months of revelations of the deep societal discrimination against women and sexual harassment against women in every industry, entertainment, politics, business, one by one. And what was Washington's answer? Nothing. Nothing. They have taken absolutely no action whatsoever on the issue of sexual harassment against women. Why not? Because it's not their belief. It's not their belief. They also have a political problem. If the president stood up and started to talk about treatment of women, well, then you would have Stormy stand up, and then you would have windy, and then rainy, and then stormy, and then cloudy. You'd have a whole weather report by the time you were finished. And that's why I'm proud New York State just passed the first and strongest anti-sexual harassment policy against women in the United States of America. They don't believe in gun laws. They don't believe in it. We do, in New York, believe in gun laws. We believe in the Second Amendment, but we believe you can have common sense gun laws. Now, Parkland, Florida, was a massacre and has galvanized the nation, has galvanized young people. We remember Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and we remember the massacre in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and we remember the school children who lost their lives in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. And within weeks after Sandy Hook, we came together and we said as a state, enough is enough. We're not going to take this anymore. If we don't do something, it will happen again. We came together and we passed the SAFE Act, which is the strongest gun control law in the United States of America. And we should be proud of what we did. And my friends, history has proven us right. History has proven us right. If this nation did what New York did when Sandy Hook happened, Parkland, Florida maybe doesn't happen. That's the difference. We just passed another law this past session that says domestic violence perpetrators should not be allowed to have a gun. Half of the women who are murdered in this nation are murdered by their intimate partner. Half. So our law says if a person is arrested for a domestic violence offense and goes to arraignment, the judge can make the decision to take the guns before they send that person back home to endanger his or her significant other. That's sensible gun control. Now, what do they say? They say, we don't believe in gun laws. And in their extreme ideology, they say we should have federal primacy that trumps state laws. So they support a concealed carry permit nationwide, which means forget SAFE Act, forget our domestic violence law. Under their theory of America, you could bring your gun wherever you want to go. You get one state to give you a license for concealed carry. It would work in all 50 other states. Because their answer is always the same. The answer to guns is more guns. Why? Because they're supported by the NRA and they're owned by the NRA, and the NRA is owned by the gun manufacturers of America. That's the truth, and that's what they believe, and that's why it can't stand, and we're not going to have them come into our state and tell us who can have a gun and who can't have a gun. LGBTQ community. We believe in equality for all. Equality for all. We passed marriage equality because we believe in equality for all. We didn't seek to impose it on anyone. It was controversial at the time. I said, if you don't think gays should get married, it's very simple. Don't marry a gay. No imposition on you. We passed marriage equality 5 years before the Supreme Court even recognized the issue. And now their position is, forget the Supreme Court and what they decided. They don't respect the LGBTQ community to the extent that they don't want them in the national service. That's their extreme conservative ideology. What they believe trumps all. Trumps what the states think, trumps what the Supreme Court thinks. It's their ideology that they're going to impose on us. And that's what scares us. They don't believe in unions. They don't believe in working men and women. In New York, we know the labor movement built the middle class and protected that there is no New York without labor unions. What do they want to do? They don't want to leave it up to the states. There's now a case in the Supreme Court called Janus versus AFSCME, which is literally seeking to end labor unions in this country. Why? Because labor unions are inconvenient for corporate management. See? Because if it wasn't for labor unions, then corporate management could do exactly what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. They wouldn't have to worry about safety and benefits and health and fair pay for a fair day's work. What we did in New York, we passed the law saying, I don't give a god darn what you do in Janus. We're going to protect labor unions in the state of New York. Here on Long Island, they believe we're too protective of the environment. That the environment doesn't really need protecting, it's doing just fine. Just fine. Then somebody has to explain to me, and Steve Ballone and Laura Curran, how come we're out there every week in the next 100-year storm? Either Mother Nature is having a nervous breakdown or we have climate change. It's one or the other. Impose their will, so they pull out of the Paris Accords, and they put out a notice that they're going to allow offshore drilling. And I just spoke to the high-ranking federal official who is in charge of the environment, or not in charge of the environment, and I said, you don't think you're going to do offshore drilling off Long Island, do you? She said, oh yes, that's one of the areas we're looking at. Offshore drilling off Long Island. So we had a discussion about it. But I will tell you this. If they ever try to drill off Long Island, do you remember what Churchill did at Dunkirk? What Churchill did at Dunkirk was he had to rescue his army from across the channel. So he enlisted all the private boats. And they went across and they picked up the army and they brought it back. If they ever so much as stick a steel pole in the ocean, we're going to enlist all the private boats. We're going to have an armada. We're going to set sail off Long Island and we're going to deconstruct anything they put in the ground. I don't care who they are, who they think they are. They're not doing offshore drilling off Long Island. I can promise you that. Then one more point on how extreme they are. They are so extreme that they play politics in a way I've never seen politics played. Now, politics can be a rough sport, just as John Turson. Politics can be a rough sport. But what they have done is something I've never seen done before. They took it to a new level. They passed their federal tax bill last December. Now, forget the philosophy of it. 1%, $1.5 trillion goes to the richest 1% of Americans. This after they campaigned on being the champion for the middle class and the working guy who got stiffed by the big corporations and management didn't care. What was their answer? Give the management $1.5 trillion. Great. In that bill, they put another little provision that said there will be 12 states in the nation that actually get a tax increase, not a tax cut. What are the 12 states? They all happen to be Democratic. They all happen to vote against Trump. And what's the number one state on the list? State of New York. What they did is they eliminated the deductibility of state and local taxes. Well, that sounds confusing. Yeah, that's what they're banking on. It's not that confusing. You now pay property taxes. You deduct it from your federal income tax before you pay your federal income tax. They say no more. So they're going to tax your property tax, which means your property tax will go up about 25%. You pay your state income tax, which is at the lowest level in history. Thank you. They will now tax your state income tax. It costs us $16 billion more per year. Just Democratic states, just Trump states, states that voted against Trump, $16 billion more. Why? To give the other Republican states a benefit over the Democratic states. That is a level of politics and a meanness and a disrespect for policy and government like I have never seen before. And then on top of that, what they've done is by demonizing immigrants, which I believe was a pure political tactic. I don't believe they even believed it. I believe they were running a campaign and they needed an enemy and they needed a target and they wanted to attract votes. So they said, we have a nice simple answer. You're worried about your economy, you're worried about your job, you're worried about your future, you're worried about your child's education. I'll tell you why. The immigrants are coming in, the immigrants are taking your job. There's no data whatsoever that says immigration is anything but a positive for the economy. Hypocrisy. Unless you are a member of the Navajo, the Sioux, the Iroquois, or the Apache tribe, you're all immigrants. So who are they to now demonize immigrants? And when you demonize immigrants, you inject a cancer in the body politic. Why? Because we are all different. And that's what made America America, America. It's unique on the globe that it is not one race or one religion. We are all from somewhere else. We only came because of the welcome mat. That's who we are. Our founding fathers knew the challenge was to take that grouping and make it one community. So the founding premise of the nation, e pluribus unum, out of many one, out of many one. That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. That is the saying on the U.S. seal that is on the flag behind the president's desk. All he has to do is turn around and read the flag. It says, "E pluribus unum." But they have started a cancer in the body politic. And once you start to divide us by race, by religion, now literally it is a cancer, one cell attacking the other. Number of neo-Nazi groups is going up. Number of anti-Semitic attacks in this state going up. Racial incidents going up. The only way America loses is if it defeats itself. The way it defeats itself is by making our diversity our weakness rather than our strength. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. Now, there's only one way to defeat a bully, and that is to stand up to them. And these people are bullies. This is Trump, Paul Ryan, and McConnell. And right now they have a freight train. They have the presidency, they have the Congress, they have the Senate. Whatever they want, they're doing. Democrats are doing the best they can to fight, but they don't have much to fight with because they don't have a house. This November, we have to stop that freight train. This November, we stop that freight train. And we elect a Democratic Congress, and we do it, and we stop the negative, we stop the anti-immigration, we stop it. And it's this November. And New York is going to lead the way. Because New York always leads the way. We led it when we passed $15 minimum wage. We led it when we passed marriage equality. We led it when we passed the SAFE Act. We led it when we passed paid family leave. We led it when we had the most aggressive environmental protection policy in the United States of America. And we're going to lead it by taking over the state Senate and then taking every seat in Congress in this state, because if you are a Republican member of Congress, you voted against New York, you voted against the principles of this nation, you're penalizing your own people, and you gotta be out, and Democrats have to be